Our Constitution works. Our great republic is a government of laws and not of men. Here, the people rule. But there is a higher power. By whatever name, we honor him, who ordains not only righteousness but love, not only justice but mercy.
Ordain means to grant a position of authority. It can also mean to order something from a position of authority. So a priest or a minister is ordained by the church to act for the church. A person can also be ordained by the government to hold a position. And once they have that position, they can ordain something to happen within their power. For example, Obama uses executive orders. So you could say that he ordains something to happen if you want to. Normally they don't say that, though. In this context, it usually refers to some sort of relationship with God or some sort of higher power.
As we bind up the internal wounds of Watergate, more painful and more poisonous than those of foreign wars, let us restore the golden rule to our political process.
Bind up is an old-fashioned way of saying to put a bandage on someone, especially in the olden days when people would get injured and there wasn't that much they could do for them. They would just wrap a big cloth around the person and hope they got better.
Like when an arrow is sticking out of your chest, you just bind it up?
Well, presumably you would pull out the arrow and then you would put a large bandage around the wound. So you bind up the wounds. You could say treat the wound.
Which is general. When you talk about binding up, it means you really wrap around with material so that it soaks up blood, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It sort of just means to wrap a bandage around it.
Okay, and to bind up internal wounds of Watergate. So what are those wounds of Watergate?
Watergate was a scandal with President Nixon where some people who worked for him broke the law, and he tried to protect them. He gave them money and did various things. He engaged in a cover-up. And so he was found out, and they had hearings, and eventually he had to resign, or else he would have gotten impeached.
The result of it, Nixon stepped down and Ford replaced him as a president. And he gave his pardon to President Nixon, right? Which was a very controversial decision. Many people didn't like it.
That's correct. His logic, what he said, was that it's a potential negative if the ex-president had to go to trial for a long period of time. He felt it was best just to put the Watergate scandal behind us and to move forward.
That's not what happened with Illinois governor. So I guess.
Blagojevich.
Yeah,
right.
I guess the higher your position is, the more forgiving the law is, and then they say that the law is blind and it treats everyone equally. So looks like it's not.
Well, I think in the case of Blagojevich, he was actively corrupt. In the case of President Nixon, he had a situation that was presented to him, which he supposedly did not create, and he just tried to protect his own image by hiding or protecting the people that committed the crimes. So it's a little different. It's not quite the same thing.
Right.
There was a similar situation with Oliver North and Ronald Reagan, where Oliver North was engaged in some kind of funny activity, and there was some question about whether Ronald Reagan was using the power of the presidency to protect North. And people generally agree that he did.
Yeah.
but it wasn't bad enough. Well, that was the Iran-Contra scandal. Yes, that was a pretty serious scandal. And Ronald Reagan managed to get away on that one. But there have been other scandals where the president may have done a little bit. So the question is, how bad?
And let brotherly love purge our hearts of suspicion and of hate.
Purge means to make pure. So in this context of suspicion and hate, those are considered to be toxic or dangerous emotions. So the idea is to rid yourself of those emotions. Similarly, it could be some physical substance. Example, the brakes of a car. You want to purge the brake lines of air. Or if there's smoke in a room, you may want to purge the smoke from the room. Or if somebody eats something bad, they get sick to the stomach, they would want to try to purge themselves of whatever it was that they ate. And then similarly, it can also be used for people too. In communist Russia, they purged the Communist Party of people who they felt were not in agreement with them. And the same in other communist countries. They would engage in regular purges to make sure that everyone believes what they're supposed to believe. And other political parties also will engage in purges, but they may not call it that. They may call it house cleaning, reshuffling. They'll give it different names. In a lot of cases, what they're trying to do is they're trying to create an organization where people believe certain things, where everyone toes the line, and where people that don't follow the program, they leave the company.
I can only guess at those burdens, although I have witnessed at close hand the tragedies that befell 3 presidents and the lesser trials of others.
To befall means for some event to cause some negative thing to someone. And typically it's used in a passive way. You might say someone was befallen by illness, or befallen by tragedy, or tragedy befell him. In this case, you're referring to an event as an active agent, even if the event was just an occurrence of some type.
So to befall means to occur, to happen.
To befall means to cause to happen. So if you could say illness befell him, that means the illness happened to him, yeah.
With all the strength and all the good sense I have gained from life, with all the confidence of my family, my friends, and my dedicated staff impart to me.
Impart means to share. Typically wisdom or advice. So an older person can impart wisdom to younger people, or someone in a position of power can also impart knowledge to other people, or a teacher can impart knowledge to their students. So the idea is that the person that's doing the imparting is someone who has special knowledge or special abilities, and that the other person is willing or is interested in learning about what those things are.
That's all for today. Tom Taylor is an ESL tutor. He teaches English in the United States and outside, all over the world using Skype. He can be reached at his website, which is
ESL-fullsteamahead.com.
click on this link and check out his website and email with questions. Thank you, Tom, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.